Welcome to Time to Discuss. Before we get started, I want to thank Mickey Mickelson for introducing me to our next guest. Let's meet Sherry because it's time we discuss what it's like to be a certified financial planner. Sherry, thank you for joining me today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
What is a typical day like for you working as a certified financial planner?
My time is flexible. So actually, I start work right now at about noon time, and I go through my emails and process the daily request and call clients and just deal with all the like pending files for today. Because I'm approaching retirement age, so right now I don't work full time on my real job. I work part time. My job involved financial planning for individuals and private corporations for Canadians because our tax law is different from the States, so I can only do it for Canadians, and that's a huge amount of potential like customers and the potential customers. So it's a big field, and it can be pretty complicated. So because we're like I would say my job is like a general physician. So I see clients, I understand their needs, their problems, their concerns, their goals. Then I can help them with certain issues, but for those I cannot, I'll match them with specialists. So I have a whole team behind me, tax experts, tax accountants, estate planning specialist, pension plan specialist, group benefit plan specialist. So based on clients' needs, I match them up with the specialists. That's my job.
If someone enters this field and they pursue one form of specialty, how difficult is it for them to then pivot and then go down another road and learn another specialty and help people in that capacity?
Well, lots of people, they have multiple designations. For example, for my job, I have CFP, that's Certified Financial Planner. That is pretty adequate because not every financial advisor has CFP, only a small percentage. However, there's people, for example, insurance specialists, they could have both CFP and also an insurance designation called the LIU. Some people even have other designations. I have another one called the RRC. But that is once you have a CFP, your RRC is given because RRC is included in a CFP. But if you don't have a CFP, you have to study and write exams for RRC. So once you start with one, depends on what is your job description, you may or may not need to have another designation. Usually the specialists, they focus on one area. They don't cross. Just like a heart surgeon doesn't do skin problem. So yeah.
Okay, that makes complete sense. Okay, so when it comes to taking the exams, do you have to do this more than once? Is this something like every couple of years you have to get retested, restudy? What is that typically like on an ongoing process?
Yeah. Actually, before I start with that, I forgot another one. I'm also a licensed insurance agent. So for that, you need to write another exam. In Canada, it's called LLQP. When LLQP, like for all this exam, you need to write it not once, but usually spread from 1 to 3 years. Usually it takes 3 years. For LQP, it doesn't take that long. It takes like 1 year or 6 months. But for certified financial planner, because it's not just one exam, it's like three, and it's huge. And you also need 3 years of work experience before you can get the designation. So it's like a CA, right? Chartered accountant. So after that, then we have something called a continuing education credit. So each year you have to fulfill your continuing education credits. So for insurance license, we have to have 30 every year. That's like 30 hours of study. And for CFP, it's 25. But it's more complicated than that. They have each category. So each category have its own requirement. For some category, you have to have a minimum of say 5. But for other category, you cannot do more than 10. So all this is kind of complicated. And each year there's a deadline. So if you miss a deadline, you'll be in, well, it's not like you'll be in trouble, but it will affect your business because once you miss the deadline, you cannot renew your certificate or your license. Then for that period, you cannot do any business. You cannot even talk with clients about the issue. So that's vitally important to finish this CE credits on time.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, what you were first saying reminded me of us speaking to John Swift. He was a mental health practitioner, and he was talking about the same challenges where you have to do so many, you have to get so many hours in even before you can start the certification process. So
Yeah,
that's really, really good to know, especially if someone is transitioning from one job to another, knowing that you need to fit in these hours somehow in order to get certified.
yeah.
So let's stick with that for a second. Let's talk education. If someone wants to become a certified financial planner, do they need to go to college to get an undergrad degree, or is it just a special other type of schooling they have to do? They just have to study for the test. What is it like from an education perspective?
They don't have to have a degree. The company I work with, we're on commission base. So usually the companies who just pay you like 100% commission, they don't even give you a base salary. Their bar is lower. It depends on not only if you can do your job from the knowledge point of view, but also if you can sell. Because at the end of the day, we have to sell products. Otherwise, you cannot survive. So it's easier to get in. Usually, you don't have to start with any exam or certificate. They have a personality test. So once they figure you're the right fit, then they will help you with get the first license, which is not a CFP, which is a mutual funds license in Canada. That is much easier than CFP. CFP is like a next step. Our company, the company I used to work for, their aim is 100% CFP. So all the advisors are supposed to have a CFP, but not every advisor can pass the exam. For other places like banks, they don't even have that requirement. So first is a mutual funds license. Once you have that license, then they train you for like 6 months, called the field training. Then you start with talk with clients and see if you can do your job and make sales and actually make a living. And they give lots of bonus and coaching and all that. And the next step is to write a CFP exam. Some companies sponsor for that, which means they pay it for you. Like when I did it, I think we paid for that, but eventually I think the company reimbursed us a partial because the company was making changes. That's how it works. Before I switched to like a industry as a whole, like a bank and other companies, for financial planning company or investment company, if you cannot, like some people, it's really, really hard to survive actually. So some young people, especially harder for young people because they don't have contacts. They're young, they're fresh out of college or high school, whatever. So people with big money, they don't trust the younger kids, unfortunately, right? So they can only start with their friends, but their friends also just young people. They don't have too much disposable income or cash. That's hard. But I found that those people who eventually couldn't survive and left, then this 1 year, 2 year experience actually opens doors for them to get a salary job in like banks, insurance companies, wholesalers. So that's one way to go. And another way to go is, you can apply jobs to banks and get the base like a salary job right from the start. For that job today, you pretty much need a college degree because the competition is just too much, right? So it's harder to get in, but once you get in, then you have a steady income. As long as you work hard, usually you can survive. I'm not saying that bank never lay off people, they do, but it's easier than start a business for yourself, like from scratch. Actually, we're not even business owners because we don't control the products, we don't control the pricing, we don't control the system, we don't control the platform, we don't control lots of things. We're commission paid advisors. That's my job.
If you were to estimate, how common is it for the jobs to be 100% commission based versus some kind of salary? What's your opinion of that? What do you think that's like?
For people, they don't have any savings. 100% commission can be really, really hard. For me, when I chose this job, I was forced into it because before that, I had a government job paying really good salary, but I was injured at my work So because of computer work, too much, like extensive computer work, I suffered a repetitive strain injury. So I could not type 8 hours a day anymore. And then I couldn't find a white collar salary job because pretty much you sit in front of the computer all day long. So I had no choice but to choose this job. So for young people, it's harder, but I'm not saying it's impossible because we had excellent top performance. They achieved that within the first year and second year and third year after finish college. Sometimes those younger people, they found it's really hard to make it themselves. Then they become somebody's associate, assistant. That also happens. So for lots of advisors, they'd rather hire somebody who already have 1-2 years of experience than hire somebody, does not have any experience. So that's another way for those younger people to go. They become associate. Then after a few years, they may want to start again on their own, or they may just be happy with that associated role and work, right?
Before you talked about you worked in another job and you're kind of, forced down this path, so to speak.
Yeah.
One question I'd like to ask when it comes to different jobs is identifying a type of barrier that could prohibit someone from entering a specific field. So for instance, I want you to think of like your previous job. You said, you were typing 8 hours a day. Okay. So something like that, I want you to think about your job as a whole and think about what a pain point could be for someone that might deter them from doing a job like this. So maybe if you're bad at math, this job isn't for you. Maybe if you have poor people skills, this job isn't for you. What is one of those qualities of the job that you might say to someone, if you don't like this, stay away.
For my job, if you have poor people skills, for sure, it's not for you, right? If you don't want to talk with people, if you don't want to handle objections, it's hard. But sometimes that's why they have this personality test, because they try to figure out what kind of job is best for you or suit you. But very interesting in our company, there's a few top performers when they first applied for the job, their personality test didn't really pass, believe it or not. But the boss hired them, say, just decide to give them a try, and they become excellent. So sometimes you never know. Anything on paper, you cannot trust it 100%.
Taking that a step further, I want to kind of go down the math road for a second, kind of. So I was speaking with an equity analyst back in 2024. Her name was Cassandra, and we talked about equities and everything that goes along with that. How well versed does a CFP have to be with the financial world, with the markets, with the stock market? How much in-depth knowledge do you need to know about that? Do you need to know how to read charts or not so much?
We need to have basic knowledge for sure. Like a PE ratio, I believe, capitalization, what is considered small cap, mid cap, large cap, like a basic, how the portfolios look like, what are top 10, what sector this fund is in, the difference between sector fund and general fund. And we need to have basic knowledge, but I don't need the knowledge of a CFA, which is called a Certified Financial Analyst. So CFP and the CFA are two different paths. CFA deal with numbers and analysis and stock market and the company's financial statements, all that, to help the fund manager to choose which company to invest. We deal with people, and then we will match those excellent fund managers with my clients, with people who need to invest. I have a CSA, I passed the CSA courses and have a certificate. That's called Canadian Security course. That is for trading stocks. But right now I'm not licensed because I don't want to deal with the pressure. If you're trading stocks for clients, you have to be get up at 7 a.m. You have to be there all the time in case your clients call, right? You can't, because stock price moves every minute, every second. Mutual funds price is the end of the day. So end of the day, that's the closing price for this mutual fund. So you don't have to worry until before the cutoff time. In my area, in my city, is 2 p.m. Anytime before that 2 p.m., the price is the same. So you don't have to stare at your computer every minute. But that's a little bit different between mutual funds advisor or advisor and a stock trader or stock agent trader.
Let's pivot for a minute. You're also an author, so I would like to talk about you as an author for a few minutes. Talk to us about that. How many books do you have published? What's the general genre of your books?
I only published one book. It's a historical fiction. It's called The House Filler, Filler. It's based on my grandmother's story. So house filler in Chinese culture in the old time, it's referred to woman who marries a widower. So because way back when women didn't have much rights, right? So she's referred as a house filler. That's the title of the book. And I finished a trilogy. It's called the China Trilogy. This is the first book of the trilogy. And it took me about 20 years because English is my second language. It's really hard to write second language for fiction. And also I had a full-time job. So, when I finished my job, when I work on this commission job, when I first started for the first 15 years, I worked from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. After 9 p.m., I start to write until for another 2 to 4 hours. That was 5 days a week for the first 15 years.
I remember talking to two different people actually. One is another person where English was not their first language, and this particular person was saying how mentally draining it can be to be involved in because this person is actually a teacher, to be involved all day, like basically translating on the fly for 8 hours a day or whatever it was. And then I was talking to Jared, was an educator for the deaf, and I presented him that same question. I said, "What's it like? You're basically not translating, but signing all day. How mentally draining is that?" So I can only imagine, going through an entire day when English is not your first language, and then coming home and then, writing for hours on end to try to get this book completed. That is quite a feat. So your current book, it is published, and it's part of a trilogy.
Yeah.
How far along is the second book?
I have finished the second, third book. And because what happened is, why it took me 20 years, because first I wrote a very long book with 240,000 words. Then I couldn't find a publisher, and I didn't know why, until somebody told me that was too long for literary fiction. You have to divide into 2 or 3 books. That's how all 3 books came out at the same times. But now I'm fine-tuning the second book. The third book also needed to fine-tuning because I start to discover new information because of historical fiction, right? And so now I'm rewrite the opening chapters of second book, and it'll be much better than the first first draft.
Okay, that's interesting. I was speaking to, I can't remember who it was. It was either Thea Lyons or Jennifer Shaw. They were also authors in Canada, actually. Actually, the ones in UK, the other ones in Canada. And
Okay.
I don't remember which author it was, but said a very similar thing, where it was that she wrote this long book, and then it was like, I think hers was 140,000
Okay.
words, and it was like, well, this has to get divided. You can't do this.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're written, and I'm sorry, did you say both of them are currently published, or they're not quite at that part
Oh,
yet?
just the first one is published. I'm still rewriting the second one.
I'm assuming that the first one's available online. People can kind of get it wherever.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Indigo in Canada, Walmart, Kobo, and some bookstores in Canada, and some libraries in Canada and in the United States.
Speaking with Jennifer Shaw in Canada, and she was saying that she's a self-published author, and she
Yeah,
talked about the process of getting it into, it was Indigo. Is that the name of the store?
yeah, Indigo. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was talking about getting into there and the whole stuff published and the book signings and everything like that. How difficult was it for you to get it into those stores? Was it pretty easy? Was that, your publisher helped you with that? What was that process like?
Because my book is traditionally published, so I don't have to worry about that. They have the channel. I don't have to worry anything about that.
Now, Shari, I am running a little short on time, but one thing I like to do whenever I'm speaking with someone, I like to give them the opportunity to talk about a project they're working on, a cause they believe in. If you want to talk more about your books or more of your business as a CFP, I kind of like to leave it open-ended, but the floor is
Yeah,
yours.
I want to fight the injustice through my pen, through my writing. That's the call I believe. And I'm currently translating my first book, The House Filler, into Chinese. And I'm retuning the second book and also do some promotion and like on this show with you.
I absolutely love that. I was talking to a couple of different people, and I love the idea of fighting social justice through the pen or something like that. I absolutely love that. I'm glad to see, in my recent past, you're not the only one. I've had a couple people recently where I've spoken to, and I absolutely love that. I'm all about making things better as a society. So it's awesome to hear that other people are doing this as well. That is just fantastic.
Thank you.
Sherry, I'll make sure I get all of those links from you for your books. I'll get them on the website. They'll be in the show notes. They'll be all over the place. So when people are looking to find them, they can easily find you.
Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Sherry, it's been awesome having you on Time We Discuss, and we learned what it's like to be a certified financial planner as well as an author.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.